Kendall calling from Great White.
Hey, how's it going, bro?
How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Hey, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this quick interview with us.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever.
All right, awesome, man. So I won't take up any more of your time. Certainly looking forward to a great show. We seen you a couple of years ago when you were down here at the Isle Casino, also in Pompano Beach. So we're ready for you guys to come and just leave a bucket of sweat on the stage.
Right on, man. Yeah, we're excited to do it.
Wonderful, man. I want to ask you, back in the day when, you were like 5, 6, 7, 10 years old, whatever, did you know at that time that you wanted to make music a part of your life, part of your living? Or did you have your sights maybe set on something else? Most kids are kind of like, I want to be a fireman, a policeman, or back then it was like an astronaut or whatever. But did you know that music was your future?
Well, as a young boy or whatever, the only thing was there was a lot of music in the house, and I did kind of latch onto the melodies of some of the stuff that was coming out of the speakers from my parents. Like one song that sticks out, and I would hum along to it. I just loved the melodies. Was "The Girl from Ipanema."
Oh man!
Dun, 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 and I would just sit by the hi-fi and just listen to that song over and over. I thought it was like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I was probably about 5 years old. I didn't get a guitar until I was 9, but my dad was a jazz trumpet player. My mother sang. My grandpa played piano. So the music was in our family. But I did everything other kids did. I played baseball. I, ran around like a crazy man in the neighborhood, and
Yeah.
So, but yeah, by the time I was a teenager, I was pretty much obsessed, with the guitar and music and other guitar players, and
Now, back at that time, as a teenager, who were you listening to on the radio? Who were some of the people that maybe you idolized or helped to shape your guitar playing sound?
Well, as a very young boy, I listened to the Stones and the Beatles and stuff like that. And then when I was 9 years old, my dad got me my first 3 records were Jimi Hendrix, Cream, and the Doors. Nice. And when I listened to those records, I wasn't really listening to the guitar as much as the singing. I would sing along. The first song I ever learned was a Yardbirds song called "For Your Love." And the very first band I ever put together played Santana. Because I thought Carlos Santana was like the greatest guitar player ever. He was like, one of my very first influences was Carlos Santana when I was 14. Nice. But after that, I discovered like Johnny Winter. I started listening to Alvin Lee. And then as a slightly older teenager, maybe 15 or 16, ZZ Top showed up. So I loved Billy Gibbons and. But, most of the guitar players I listened to, Blackmore, of course, as a teenager, really liked Deep Purple. And, so I went from guitar player to guitar player,
Yeah.
I would always discover a new one. But I just remember it was funny because I was telling somebody else about that my band only played Santana, and we weren't even like a cover band. It was just... I just love Santana so much. It was just all I played. But I actually got a chance to speak with Carl Santana about that for a minute, but that's a whole other story. But it's funny. All the guitar players were basically people that really squeeze notes like at the end of their life. And that's really what the kind of players that I loved, the ones that would just grab onto a note like Carlos Santana at Woodstock, and squeeze it for like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
It's just like, just because that's the way he was feeling right then, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That kind of stuff inspires me,
Now, as a musician, are you self-taught?
Yeah, I'm pretty much self-taught. I mean, I can read just a very little bit, but it's kind of slow. It's something you have to work at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to become a good sight reader, you really need to practice it. And I was a little lazy in that area. I would learn songs off records, and I would pick up things so quickly. By the time I could get it done on paper, it was like, you know, I'd be having, you know, I would just be so impatient. You know, so really, it's a case of being impatient and a little lazy. But when I talk to up and coming guitar players, I tell them, you know, if you can play with feel and you become a great sight reader, those are the guys that stand above everybody. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure. Now, do you still own your first guitar?
My very first guitar I don't own anymore. It just kind of got chucked away. It was just an old cheap acoustic that my dad got me, just to make sure that I was going to play it. You know what I mean?
Right, of course.
But, my first guitar was electric was called a K guitar.
I'm familiar.
You know, I like spray painted it like fluorescent pink and had stickers all over it and stuff. You know, and when I was 17 years old, I got a Fender Telecaster Deluxe.
Nice.
And that guitar I'd had since I was 10. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I kind of gave it away. I think I sold it for $5 to this guy named Bill.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I wish I still had it. You know, it would have been great to still own it, but no, unfortunately, I don't have it anymore.
So let me ask you, like, you know, you guys are on the road, you know, you're doing your tour, playing your gigs and stuff. How do you, I mean, it's different now, I think, than back in the day, because now we have FaceTime and, you know, and all these kind of technology, but how do you deal with being separated from family and being on the road?
Well, you know, that is part of the sacrifice you have to make and the compromise. And, you know, these days we don't disappear for 2 years anymore like the old days.
Yeah.
You know, we're basically, except when we go to Europe or something, we might be gone 6 weeks. But for the most part, we fly in, do 2 or 3 shows, and go home for a few days and then go do it again. Back in the days when we were really touring hardcore, we would, I mean, literally be out for 80 months and go right on to another tour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's tough because you're watching your kids grow up on videotapes. They can't really come out. Maybe every once in a while, you know, my wife would come out for, you know, briefly, but it was always a nightmare because, you know, I had to do my routine. You know, I couldn't, like, go out sightseeing or something. You know, I had to be places, and, you know, there was so much press and everything. And so, yeah, it's really tough on family life. Not so much anymore. I was able to kind of make up for it and be around my family more and enjoy everyone, and, you know. But, yeah, that's one of the things, you know, you have this dream, and then you get there, and it's like, wow, you know, I got to, like, hurt people. I got to miss people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So there's things that go along with the you know, being in a band that, you know, are quite difficult.
True that. I mean, how do you feel these days when you look out in the audience and you see kids out there that are 10 years old, teenagers that are just discovering Great White's music for the first time? I mean, that might just blow your mind, you know? It's like coming full circle. Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely blows my mind. And in fact, even my kids, well, they're grown now. You know, my youngest boy's 21, but they love our music. You know, because it's not like my parents. You know, or parents that are, you know, you're into Sabbath and they listen to Lawrence Welk, so you just cannot deal with it, right?
Right.
A lot of stuff rocks. I mean, you know, my son will bring one of his friends to one of our shows, and the guy will come up and just say, "Dude, you shred, bro," you know, or whatever. So it's not so removed, but when we see generations, like I was in Sweden, and back then I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I went out to have a smoke. This is about 5 years ago. And there was probably 30 kids outside of the hotel in their early 20s, all wearing clothes that like we wore in 1985, you know, and they're all going to the show. It was like they, almost like a little cult group, you know, that discovered something, you know, and I love to see that. I like it when they kind of discover our music and they dig it. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, I see that a lot where a lot of parents are bringing their kids and they want them to experience, you know, the music that they grew up listening to or that they listened to in their teens or whatever. I mean, my mom took me to my first concert in 1977. I don't know what was going on in her head, but she decides, let me bring my 7-year-old son to go see Kiss, you know? And the Destroyer tour, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today, you know? It's just, you see the blood and the lights and the sound, and you see that crowd just going freaking bananas after every song, you know? And you're like, you know, I can't sing, and even though I play guitar, I can't play that good, but you know what? I can write, so you know what? I'm going to contribute that part to music, you know? And but I think it's great that parents, even more so nowadays, especially that kids have access to YouTube, you know, they're just surfing around, you know, and one video leads to another, or someone will read a comment and go, oh, this song reminds me of, you know, back in the day with Ozzy, and they're like, who the hell's Ozzy, you know, and they start Googling and they're listening and they're like, man, this guy's freaking awesome, you know, so I think it's freaking great, you know. Well,
it is great, and go ahead.
Go ahead, man, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it is great. That's one thing about the modern day technology that I like, that these kids can do a little research and you know, since they're not seeing it like back in our day with the MTVs and it's all over the radio, they really don't have access apart from the internet.
Sure.
So, you know, when they run across an 80s band and they go, holy crap, man, what I miss here? This is awesome, you know. I think that's great that they at least have a forum where they can go find things like that.
Exactly.
Even by accident at times, I'm sure.
Oh, sure. I go around YouTube every now and then, and I'll just see something that looks interesting and click it and go, man, who the hell is this? This is freaking great stuff, you know, and you get more into their stuff. So I think it's great.
Yeah,
now you guys have toured and done tours with a ton of different bands, and it's ironic because the first and last time that I saw you guys a few years ago here, you also played with Vince Neil. So obviously you've played with him quite a bit, you know, or whatever. But what's it like being on tour with Vince?
Well, you know, we've probably maybe done about 7 or 8 shows with him. But Vince is great. You know, I know Vince from when we were teenagers because I played at his high school in a band. This was before Great White. When I was just a teenager, I went and we played at his high school, and a friend of mine told me he was a singer. And I go, really? And he was right in front watching our band play. No shit. And I go, really? What band is he in? And he goes, oh, he's not in a band. He just goes around singing all the time. Oh. So 2 years after that, we were in a battle of the bands, and his band came in 3rd place, and ours came in 4th. And it's still, we weren't to Great White stages yet. I was just in some band. And his band was called Rock Candy. Well, that's the band that Motley Crue actually got him from. Wow. And so we have a lot of history, you know, like that. So it's fun to play with bands because, you know, we go back so far and, you know, we can reminisce. That's awesome, man. Hey, one final question. So what's next for you in Great White? What's coming up? Anything exciting? We got a documentary coming out. It's included with a live show from Las Vegas with a company called Rockfield Media. They had, you know, like 40 cameras at the show. It's going to be like a DVD concert series that's also going to be on a cable network, which I don't know which network, and it's going to be with Twisted Sister was in there, Extreme, Skid Row, and I think they're releasing Twisted Sister first and then us. But it's great because we got to go back and tell our entire story. They followed us around with cameras for probably 2 months. You know, we really got to give it details of our entire, from the ground up to now, you know. And I think it'll be great for the fans, you know, because us being fans,
of course.
I mean, I know I like to see behind the scenes from all my heroes, you know, so I think it'll be fun for the fans to kind of go behind the stage, if you will, and kind of see where we came from and how everything unfolded. And then in January of 2017, we're going back in to do another record, this one with legendary producer Michael Wagner in Nashville. So that'll be fun because we hadn't worked with him in so long. So that's about it. You know, we've just been playing shows and looking forward to having that come out, you know, for the fans and stuff. And plus, it has the live show attached to it, which is great. And that turned out real good. So
well, we definitely have your back on that. So as soon as that comes out, we'll promote the hell out of it.
Oh, awesome, man! That's great. You know, I really do think it'll be fun for the fans to kind of know our story because, you know, they're always telling us stories. Like, we go on these Monsters and Rock cruises, which is a lot different from a normal setting. You mingle with the fans.
Yeah.
And we hear all their stories, you know. I just, you know, it's an abnormal situation because we get to actually hang out with like 4,000 fans.
Yeah.
You know, for a week. And we're literally we're making ourselves totally available to everybody just to hang out. And it's neat to hear all their stories. So it's going to be fun for us to be able to share our story, you know, as young teenagers and bring them all the way to current. I just think, you know, the ones that like our music will enjoy that.
That sounds great, Mark. Hey, man, I want to thank you so much again for your time and consideration for doing this interview. We're so looking forward to Saturday. It can't come quick enough, and we'll be there to review the show as well. And Melissa was very nice enough to give us 2 tickets to do a giveaway on our website. We already have a winner, so that's very generous of you guys. And if we can come back and say hi before or after, that would be awesome.
That sounds great. I look forward to meeting you, Bill. Thank you.
All right, cool. And one more thing. We do a lot of work with the Miami Dolphins Foundation, and even if you're not a Miami Dolphins fan, we're wondering if maybe you and the band would sign a guitar for the foundation for the upcoming auction.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, bring the guitar with you and make sure to sign that.
All right, I'll have Melissa hook it up. And again, thank you so much, and we look forward. Safe travels on the road, and we'll see you Saturday, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, later, bro.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.